Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and a tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Monday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes, no players allowed, DM-only livestream crafting Icewind Down, which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of a Rime of the Frostmaiden. If you are playing characters Valravn, Frey, Celeste, Edmund, or Thimbleweed, this is not the right stream for you, but for the rest of you, welcome. There will be spoilers. Do our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. Watch all of our D&D sessions and reviews here on YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Rogue Watson and join our official Discord server. Invite link into the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson for our campaign. We use Roll20.net for streaming. I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. I just watched that Thor trailer that dropped like half an hour ago, so I'm pumped. I've got the MCU juice flowing in my veins. I'm feeling real good, real excited about going to see another excellent MCU movie in theaters, yay. But for now, we're going to be talking about the Dark Duchess that my players are still at. This will no doubt be our final week in the Dark Duchess, as the Ancient White Dragon is approaching, and we pretty much hit everything that I wanted to do, which I talked about all that in the Frostside chat last week, but thankfully we basically wrapped up everything in one single combat encounter. I guess we missed exploring some little rooms on the upper level, but there's nothing really in there anyway, so perfectly fine. And yes, of course the dynamite got used to blow up part of the treasure, which what I decided to do was basically sprinkle the gold and coins everywhere, so they'll have to go scramble and pick that up. And I destroyed one of the custom. So basically, I turned the one-use statuette treasure magic item thing that was a spell into 3 things inside of a single box. But because they decided to use dynamite, they blew the shit out of that thing up. I may still use that somewhere else because I still like that idea as a magic item, but they are not going to get that one. And I believe I'm also going to destroy one of the other treasures. It was like a linen thread or something. I was like, all right, that's definitely getting blown up. But otherwise, I think gems can survive, coins can survive, and the real meaty magic items aren't until you get to the 3rd and 4th layer anyway. So that stuff, and what it did is blowing it up basically gave them access to the 3rd layer. And then I believe when we ended the last session, I had Valravn be able to just get enough into the 3rd layer to where they could start looting the 3rd layer of treasure. By layer, of course, I mean the giant treasure, the actual dragon's hoard here, and then see the stuff on the 4th layer. And then that was the timing of them being able to see the dragon in the distance coming towards the ship. So now basically begins the doomsday clock for what they can do. And this was kind of the timing that I was really aiming for, which was now you have the choice to make. You can either try and grab what you've got right now and get the hell out of here, which I'm declaring right now, if the first thing they want, I'm not going to put them in initiative right now, but I'm going to kind of treat this as like round 1, which is, hey, the dragon hasn't actually landed on the ship yet. It's still, some distance away, but it's coming in relatively quickly. You've got maybe minutes or something to do things. So I figure, if you guys want to try to grab what you can and then immediately get out of here, I think I'm going to go ahead and let that happen, and we'll make that more of just a, exciting, like, oh man, you can see the dragon, land right behind you, and it'll look around, and the deck, and it'll see below deck and see the trolls there, and it'll just assume the troll, because basically the main thing here is that it doesn't really chase after people, it doesn't really hunt them down. So I figure if the players are really smart and really conservative with the loot here, and they really prioritize their survival, then that's fine. That'll be the trade-off. I don't expect players to ever necessarily put their survival over loot, however. So I fully expect them to risk some of their, if not all of their lives, for a little bit more of that sweet loot. So the idea here, coins should be fine, gems not so much. Gems, even diamonds, are very fragile. That's true. There's not a whole lot of gems in here, Sylvan Fox. But I figure gems are kind of just part of the coins. There's like literally a handful. There was like a couple pearls, some quartz. The way I've actually got it written down, I don't know if I'll do this or not. I tend to over rule things, and then usually by the time we're playing, I'll back off and just kind of make it more nebulous and kind of whatever I feel like in the moment. But it does help for me to kind of write down the rules, and then that helps me keep track of things. But I was even thinking to make everybody roll like sleight of hand checks or something to try and grab, search around and get, the best loot and, make that, because I figure, okay, people are going to do one of three different things with this dragon approaching, right? They're either one going to be trying to dig into that loot pile, which Robin's doing now, and get to that fourth layer and get to the better loot, which that we'll talk about that in a second. Or two, they're going to be searching the hold for all the different coins and stuff that got scattered around. Or three, they're just going to get the fuck out and escape. I don't see them doing anything other than those three things that makes any sense to me. But obviously, players are going to play and they can come up with all kinds of weird, crazy shit that they're going to do. Maybe they're going to try to set up some kind of distraction thing, cast some kind of spell, use some kind of trickery to try to trick the dragon. Whatever they plan on doing, it's going to be pretty hard, because while I do plan on playing her, she's got her cataracts or whatever, so she's very can't see very well, which just means she can only see 60 feet, which is, still because of her blind side, basically. She still has great, passive perception, and still has all the killer stats of an ancient white dragon, so I'm not going to, hamstring her too much. It just kind of depends on where I'm at with the player. Like, what are they doing? Are they actually coming up with some kind of smart plan that's risky, or are they just trying to say, oh, we can just trick her by doing this one simple thing? Because that I plan on slapping down pretty quickly. But the idea is they've got that first round. I'm probably not even going to put them in initiative yet, but just tell them, hey, you've got, minutes before this dragon approaches. What do you do with this precious time that you've got? And if it's the case where only Valravn is trying to break through the ice, then I'll tell him, hey, what item are you trying to get to? Because now it's going to be like a claw machine type situation. You've got, you can only grab, you're basically trying to crack open the ice in a certain spot versus everybody down there doing it or something. And I don't necessarily have in my mind the ice layer has hit points or something. I don't know. What it really amounts to is, instead of it having AC or hit points, it's more just hey, who's all cracking at this thing, and then how far do you get based on that? So I haven't had really clear-cut rules on that, because ultimately I do want them to actually get that loot on the fourth layer. The best timing to me is that they get all the loot. The dragon still fucks them up a little bit, they just kind of missed their window to escape, and maybe the dragon gets a single round with them or something, throws down the frost breath or does some really scary shit, and then they get a chance to beat feet and get out of here. Obviously, one option they have is to stay and fight the dragon. I think that is a terrifying option, because what they could do, it does mention the fact that in the text that if they knock Meltheron's body over, or that is a legitimate distraction they can use. So in other words, if they actually do fuck with the body, or the book also says not even the players have to do that. You can just, as the DMs, have, maybe when she's maneuvering or something, the actual body, I guess it's magically, because they're I don't know, it's bones, but they're kind of magically animated to where they're still sitting on her back. Anyway, that can fall off, and then she'll freak out and disengage. So that's the only tool I have to save the party from a massive TPK, is to have that happen, just to give them an out. So I'm kind of leaving that in my back pocket. If they want to try to do something that would make that happen, then that would probably work better organically. But if it's just oh man, people are dying and getting killed, then maybe she moves somewhere and it gets knocked over, and then she has to do that, and that gives the party a single round to escape or something. Even Frey seemed intimidated by the dragon. Yeah. It's been both a blessing and a curse having the dragon show up a couple sessions ago. I mean, obviously, I loved that whole scenario, but what's interesting is yes, they do know that that dragon is legitimately powerful. But B, they also know that at least with Valravn, you can socialize with this dragon. She's not immediately like completely hostile. Now, I have said that before, but that was, of course, while they were out, just hanging out, random place. Whereas here, they literally have broken into her, uh, you know, hoard and stolen most of her loot. So that would not that would give her a pretty bad disposition, I believe. I can't remember, is anyone on the lookout for Aviatris, or are they all below deck? No, they are actually a bunch above deck. That's why when we ended last session, they actually saw the dragon coming. So they do have forewarning on the dragon is coming, and I mentioned at the start that if they leave right now, there's basically no consequence. But they have to leave right now, which means I would let them grab... maybe like real quick they can grab whatever they want from the hold, whatever's in those first, really even the 3 layers, because I think I did let him unfurl the 3rd layer, but it would be like I'd try to keep the tension to be like, all right, what are you grabbing, which still gives them a pretty good chunk of loot, and then they can run out there and basically get out without any consequence, which means that on Thursday we'll be prepping Yarmut in case they do that, because then I won't have enough content for the session coming on Friday. I have to decide to leave, which it does seem a little anticlimactic, and I may do, I don't know, I may do something, but the bad thing is if I chase at all, that kind of makes it weird about like why is like how are they able to escape now if she's like chasing them, like she wouldn't. So basically if they leave the Dark Duchess behind, I don't think Aviatris would chase them down. So it could be a little anticlimactic in that way, but hopefully at least be, the tension scene of, I can make it cinematically interesting or something. They killed her beloved kobold. Yeah, does she love those kobolds? Well, the interesting thing is, if they, like I said, if they do leave right away, then the troll bodies are here. Like, she would just assume the trolls got in this Dark Duchess and murdered these kobolds, and then maybe fucked up her hoard to where she might have even noticed stuff was missing because it literally has exploded. So maybe she thought, oh, these trolls exploded like somehow, and she might not put 2 and 2 together that like, oh, I guess they all killed each other and something exploded and what happened here. She might be searching around a little bit, but the players, again, if they play it smart, they can lose her. But let's say that they do try and loot some stuff. So I've got it broken down a little bit in terms of rounds, and somebody, I forget if this was during the stream or on a comment later, said, look up Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and there is the chapter, I think it's 4, Salvage Operation, which has them just going to a shipwrecked boat in the water, and then at the end of that one, I guess, spoilers for Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is in itself an adaptation of old D&D modules, but at the end of that, I guess it's an adventure, a giant octopus, very, very randomly, just comes up and attacks this ship, and it's done over the course of several rounds, and it's a very cinematic, long, like you've got rounds to basically escape this dungeon while the octopus is crushing it and tentacles are coming through and there's saving throws and all this stuff's being made, and then it actually goes all the way till round 20, and then the ship finally sinks. I can't imagine anybody rolling initiative and expecting to go that many rounds is very nuts to me, but the idea was pretty cool. It's a little bit of a different situation here. The dragon, but I like the idea that you could break it down round by round. So round 1 is the dragon's not here yet. It's just you've seen the dragon coming and you all have a chance to do something. I'm probably not going to put them in initiative, but I will ask everybody, hey, what are you doing right now? This dragon is coming. You wager you've got a couple minutes and that's it. And if everybody goes down and starts, or at least most people go down and start helping Valravn get through that layer, then probably by the time the dragon lands in round 2, they've uncovered at least some of the loot on the 4th layer. And maybe I can decide, because obviously that bow is probably the thing they want the most, which we can also make the items, I guess, tonight. I could go over the items I've got. Or maybe I'll make them wait for the bow. So I've got a some magic armor and a bow, and then some really nice gold items. But I obviously the players would try to go for the magic items because I think we've talked about this before. But especially in our games, the way my group plays, gold is just magic items they haven't purchased yet. If that makes sense, like they really treat it like a action RPG versus a sim game or a survival crafting game or something. Like they don't use gold to live. They use gold to make themselves more powerful by buying potions or buying magic items like you would if you were playing an action RPG, which is totally fine. That's kind of how I think of it too. So a lot of time, and they're so flush with money that obviously if they see, so the point I'm making is that they would never, I don't think, choose gold over a magic item, even if the gold was a lot more than a magic item. So I'm probably going to make them be like, hey, are you prioritizing the armor or the bow when you're digging through the ice? And then I would maybe let them uncover one, and then another round would have to happen, and then they could uncover maybe the next one, and then even another round for them to uncover the gold. Because it says it takes an hour, but it's no fun if it literally is like there's no chance of them getting that fourth layer. So it's going to take just rounds for them to uncover that stuff, if that makes sense. But then I did look at the I think it's the layer action is going to work best for me. I could use her just casting spells, but I like the fact that she's like her very presence can just cause these things, these cold effects to happen. And I think this one layer action of the freezing fog actually works really well for what I want to do, which is, okay, on round 2 when she lands, she's going to be up here on the deck, but then she can have this freezing fog effect, which for the player's point of view is almost going to seem like just this cold aura that's radiating off of her. Before it was like a blizzard, when they first met her, and now it's just going to be this freezing fog coming in. First of all, if anybody's still on the deck when she lands, I'm very tempted to just start off with her fucking going nitrous and immediately unleashing her cold breath on everybody on the deck. Too much? Because she's not going to play around. Like, she's not going to go down there and socialize with... If she sees people, and again, she has to get within 60 feet to actually see them because of her, she's got really bad vision. But she can definitely smell the difference between a kobold and any other creature, and if she's within 60 feet, she can very clearly see like, oh, there's other intruders or something. Maybe if Valravn was up there and was doing, I don't know, that would be really tricky. It's, again, it really plays around with how much the players are going to try to fuck with me with this dragon. But I'm very like if everybody's just in battle poses on the deck, then we're going hard. We're going combat. She's unleashing the cold breath. Roll for initiative. Like, we're going, and we'll still play the round by round. But at that point, the party's kind of fucked, and we're probably gonna have to execute like the Meltharon falling off the saddle. So hopefully they're not stupid enough to wait around on the deck and wave as this dragon comes and annihilates them. So that's one contingency plan, assuming they're smart enough to go below deck. So that means we effectively go to round 2, and at round 2, the dragon lands on the deck. I read this description basically, which is very cool. Out snort accompanies a sound of claws scraping against ice-glazed timbers. The voice of what could only be a truly immense dragon fills about, which I'm going to modify some of that because they've actually met this dragon before, so they'll recognize Aviatris, and they know the name and everything. But I can play around with the fact that the party has been busy up here, right? So when the dragon lands, instead of going immediately to the hold, she'll be like, Meltharon, did I not freeze the door to that cabin, the captain's cabin? You said it was haunted. Looks like you were right, kind of a thing. And at that point, the players are like, wait, does Meltharon really talk to her? Like, it's, really up in the air. But, and what I can play around with the fact that she's up there on the day, boom, 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 cracking the walls. But she's inspecting the progress the players made. So they actually bought themselves some time during that first round. So all the players will get a chance to act safely on the hold, essentially. and they can all either choose to gather loot or they can choose to work on breaking through the ice. Fire would obviously be the better method because it would be a lot quieter, but I would probably still let them, you know, ding, 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 ding if they really wanted to, but whatever. But to keep the tension out, ooh, that's a good one too. She could call to the kobolds, and that would maybe let the players make some stuff. So maybe she'll call out at the end of round. So I'll give them 1 round of the dragon just up there inspecting things, but that's a good call with the kobolds. But I'm gonna have this freezing fog descend into the hold, so that even though the dragon has not even aggroed with the party yet, her very presence is going to cause them cold damage. Essentially, they all have to immediately make DC 10 con save, which I was surprised this is so low. This is an ancient white dragon I'm looking at, and the DC is only a 10. But I guess it's a constant thing. It's always on. It's a DC 10 con saving throw, taking 3d6 cold damage on a failed save or half as much damage on a successful one. I guess I could play around with that if I wanted to. And the creature, the thing is, when it ends its turn, you take it again, basically. I don't know if you get to make the save again. It just says a creature that ends its turn in the fog takes 3d6 cold damage. Doesn't it mention that you even get the save? So I don't know if you just keep doing that or not. The ice shards, the problem with the other two is that it really assumes that you are in the dragon's lair, which is an ice cave, I can presume, based on what their layers are and what their things are. So the other two really seems like it's built for the ice cave, whereas freezing fog I feel like I can use in this kind of not really her lair area. But I do like the idea of adding some kobold stuff in there. I'm gonna make myself a note about that because she should be asking about the kobolds. Probably because they, rush up to greet her immediately. Maybe I'll make that at the start of round 3 then. I'll be like, maybe she'll call out their names or something. The kobold name is like, where are you? Still below? And then she will be, that maybe give the players one last chance for like Valravn to pop his head up and like explain himself before she goes down for round 3. But meanwhile, this freezing fog is going to be constantly going. It's just going to be depleting their damage the whole time. They're down there trying to grab the loot or grab or mess with that treasure hoard pile and try to get more of the treasure out. I would probably say that if they wanted to run into one of the two ends of the boat and hide there, they could. They would avoid the cold damage that way. But then they're not making any progress trying to get the loot either. So, and things will get very tricky. I don't know how they're going to escape this situation, to be honest. I'm kind of having to wait and see what they do. I know that Valravn has his Misty Step, so he can very easily teleport out of the ship, and then he's basically safe. But the rest of them presumably have to run out of here. I think, yeah, because greater invisibility is going to wear off. Because the dragon, as I mentioned, still takes minutes to get there. I think it only lasts a minute. So without any of those abilities, I mean, even a good stealth roll, she's got a passive perception of 23. Now, technically, you could beat that with a very good stealth roll. Maybe if Thimble, I mean, I don't think they have pass without trace. I'm trying to think of how they're going to get out of here. But I think it's going to require some kind of social shenanigans. Social shenanigans. He does have a +8 stealth, so actually he is capable of beating a 23. At least Thimbleweed is. I don't know about the rest of them. I assume the Ranger was going to be better at stealth. I was going to have this fog start a little bit earlier, I think. As soon as she lands, I like the fog starting. But yeah, maybe when something's amiss. I mean, technically, she could sense something's amiss as soon as the captain, as soon as she lands, she sees the captain's door has been opened, which she froze to seal it off. And then she sees a bunch of undead bodies around. Like, that would be a pretty amiss. So I think that's what would cause that freezing fog to emanate. And then if the players ever ask me about it afterwards or something, be like, the kobolds are immune to cold or something. Like, you never really knew about that, never came up because you killed them all, but that's the case, is she can do it. Or maybe she doesn't give a shit and the kobolds are, they're expendable. She doesn't really care that much. She'd rather protect her treasure than protect the lives of the kobolds, I'll tell you that. Keep continuity given they've already met her. Yeah. I think dragons are faster than monks. Yeah, probably. If they fly, they are 80 feet fly. Although, actually, Celeste is pretty much just as fast. I think she's actually got like an 80-foot speed. Or is it 60? Oh, it's 55. Okay. We'd have to dash to outfly a dragon. I've not actually rolled hit points for Aviatris yet, by the way. I'm not sure I need to. They're not going to be able to kill it. I can't imagine this being an actual fight. I mean, the dragon stats are ridiculous. One cold breath is really going to end them, which that's, one of the things I've got in my pocket is the cold breath, which is like, hey, you guys have pissed me off, or you guys have really fucked up here, made a bad move, or it's, okay, I'm only going to do like one thing on you as you're running out and escaping, and it's going to be the cold breath because that's the one big, like, exciting move. I can, like, everybody's like jumping off the boat or something, and she just unleashes this thing in a giant blast, and then maybe one or two of them go down, and they have to like grab them and haul them and run off while the dragon like rages in the ship, but ultimately doesn't follow them. Gonna be good. I'm hoping it's good. While we talk more about that, I can make these items that I have made. Oh, did I actually have... I wonder if I got art for the bow or not. I think I got art for the cloak. I did upgrade some of the items. I do like making items, because it's only fair that since I upped the challenge level of this dungeon, I up the treasure as well. You have the cloak, so we'll add the cloak in here. Item. Add handout. Oh, right, because I got that monk triple the move speed thing. Forget about all those monk abilities. They have so many cool little abilities. I like monks. Monks tend to be, they seem to get a bad rap in 5e, but I always like the monk. I like a fighter character that has all these abilities they can use and their own little resource pool they can use. I mean, that's why everybody likes the Battle Master, right? Because they've got their own little superiority dice. I just like that idea. Alright, so the item that is on the third layer, which they basically already have access to, is the Frost Fur Cloak. They missed out on the wooden box with the figurines. This one... Oh my god, why does it do this? There we go. Guess it's a wondrous item, requires attunement. Alright, so it's a cloak of protection, but not really. It grants +1 to AC and resistance to cold damage. Pretty fucking good for this camp. And yes, I also love giving... Video games do this all the time, where you get the item like after the encounter where that item would be really important. So obviously having something that gives you cold resistance would be great after facing off against a cold dragon. But I thought I'd have this cool little ability. Hopefully it's not too fiddly. Any resisted cold damage is stored by the cloak as warming energy. When it reaches 20 points worth of resisted cold damage, the cloak gives off twinkling blue sparkles. It feels superbly warm, even against the harshest freeze. And the user can spend a reaction to roll 2d10, healing that amount and resetting the cloak's counter back to 0. So every time cold damage is done to you and you take, half because of your resistance, then you would jot down how much damage that that resisted, and then once that reaches 20, you can activate this ability for a one-time heal that could be pretty substantial. I mean, 2d10, that's an average of, what, like 11 healing or something? For just a free heal. That's like better than a healing potion. So I thought it was cool, and should hopefully come up a decent amount of times, because there's a ton of, cold damage available. So they're really already going to have access to this one right off the bat. And it's a cool item. It'll be interesting because the monk and the barbarian will both fight over it, because they're both frontline fighters who could use this item and who don't wear armor. So anything that gives them AC that's not armor is super very good. I think Freya's the only one with only 2 attuned items, so she would probably want to grab that first for that reason. But As a DM, I stay out of it and just give them the items. Party tries to negotiate. What would the dragon's demands be? If the party try, yeah, that is gonna have to. That is gonna happen. Well, it's gonna be really, really difficult. I think she would probably only even speak to Valravn because, and only because of their prior relationship together. Yeah, I want your boots, your motorcycle, and your bike. And I mean, as much as I do want this to be a cool, like, cinematic action sequence with a giant monster, I do think that that's where a lot of the fun of D&D can be, which is these surprising, memorable social encounters. And we've established that there is a bit of a social relationship between Aviatris and Valravn. So, it's going to be very, very challenging. I'll say that. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but to come in here and basically, I don't see any way of them being able to keep her from going below deck and seeing that her hoard has been, stolen from and everything. Maybe if some really great social checks. I mean, what would her insight be? Her insight would not be, well, that's a plus. We'd use that probably as a +7, I guess. I could have that be that her insight is. She's proficient. Plus, I guess she doesn't have insight technically. I'd probably use her like wisdom save against Valravn's thing. But again, Valravn can't roll less than, what would we say, like an 18 or 19 or something? Or was it, what is this fucking charisma? If I have Valravn roll, he's gonna roll a 20 something for the social check. Yeah, he's got a +11. Although his deception isn't as good, which it would probably be deception. So that would be, but he can't roll less than a 10. So he's minimum rolling an 18. Yeah, you could absolutely blame the trolls. And, he plays his cards right. Like, hey, we're here to, maybe she, it becomes like, okay, you've got to throw some of your loot on the treasure hoard. Give supplication to me. That could be an option. The bad thing is it makes the most sense if she already killed, destroyed the wagon, ate Ballista and the reindeer when they went up here, because it was kind of. But we'll say that, okay, maybe she came from a different direction, because that would be pretty bleak if they come back there and just find it wiped out from the dragon already. But yeah, that's, they can say like, hey, you want to eat a reindeer? Like, it would definitely require some kind of trait. I did mention, I think in the last stream, that like, well, if Valravn is really good and they don't want to give anything up, then he could give up himself. Like, she's infatuated with, this powerful spellcaster who's made it this far, and he seems like undaunted and unafraid of her, and he's a great storyteller. Like, she would be delighted by that as a pet, essentially. And I mentioned the fact that, I would have to sidebar with Chris about this probably during the session, but depending if negotiations go that far, then she would just pick him up and be like, all right, if things have gotten really bad to where, she's gonna like wipe, kill them, everybody or something, then she could just take him and like fly after her lair. That would be, and that would effectively like end his whole career in the context of this campaign. Maybe later showing up in some crazy way. Maybe I can have him appear in the Caves of Hunger, having escaped or something crazy. But essentially, you would be rolling up a new character after that. That's a crazy option, but something that could happen and would be pretty wild and certainly memorable. Edmund plus Alchemist Jug of Water plus Freezing Frog is refrozen treasure hoard. Yeah, they could try and do things like that. I think that she would know enough that her treasure hoard has definitely been fucked with. And so they have some explaining to do, and I'm very interested to hear what that explanation is. I'm going to give them, 2 rounds before I think she makes it below deck into the hold, and then on that 3rd round, if nobody has come up to try and negotiate with her, then she will come down, and essentially we will roll for initiative. But maybe when we get to Valravn's turn, he can use his turn to, try and talk things down and everything else. But it's going to be at least a round of danger for them, I would think. Well, I don't think she's going to see the wagon, because the wagon's not parked outside of the ship. Remember, the wagon's actually a mile away. They had to, but that would be a good bit of continuity, but I kind of saved myself there because they had to park the wagon before crossing the Sea of Moving Ice, and I can just say that the dragon came from a different direction, never saw the wagon. So she won't see, and she has to get within 60 feet of the ship before she can see anything. So I think what I expect to happen is the party is all going to be below deck when she lands. She'll spend a round or two. I think I'll have it be 2 rounds up here. The first round she'll be like landing and inspecting the captain's cabin. The second round she'll come back out and calling out for the kobolds, and the party has a chance to respond in some way or not. And then probably by that third round, which is actually the fourth round, I guess, because round 1 is gonna have the dragon flying in, she will go down below the hole, and maybe actually that third round she's peeking down into the hole. So if anybody is there, visible, that's not like hiding in a corner or something, she will go ahead and see them. In which case, assuming, if she literally catches a bunch of people on her horde, then that's going to be a freezing breath coming down, just blasting everybody. And then at that point, we'll roll probably for initiative, and then we're in, that last round, and then it's just up to the players to try to get the fuck out of here, which I would hope everybody's just, casting spells that involve escaping or dashing to get away. Thimbleweed does have Fog Cloud, but she has Blind Sight, so I don't know if Fog Cloud would help that much here. Fog Cloud's a 20-foot radius sphere, so it's a 40-foot total sphere. But correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't Blind Sight simply negate that? It's heavily obscured. At least I think she's still. Let me double check on Aviatris. What it says about her stat block. Doesn't say it here. It might. Okay, maybe it's under Dark Duchess then. 2-minute tabs. Stay under Dark. Let's see. Somewhere about right the end. Beatrice arrives. Say here either. Where does it say about? Okay. I forgot where I read that she's got the vision problem that reduces her stats. At the very top, did I miss it? Oh, there we go. Age has clouded her eyes with cataracts, limiting the range of her vision to 60 feet. Her blind sight, hearing, and sense of smell are undiminished. So basically this means that she does not have her dark vision of 120 feet. She really just has her blind sight of 60 feet. But yeah, that pretty much negates fog cloud, especially in this distance. Now you can't cast fog cloud in the hole. She would still be able to see right through it. Fog cloud just make them cold and wet. Yeah. Fog cloud would only help if she was further than 60 feet away. But then she wouldn't be able to see anyway. It'd be kind of blurry, but I guess it would help at a distance. So, maybe it's one of those things where they cast a fog cloud behind them as they're running, in which case, between you and me, she wouldn't have chased anyway, but then I can be like, oh, well, she, has trouble picking eyes out and everything, so that would be doing it. But it would not save them in here, and you could definitely make it like, you could even have her be like smelling and be like, I can still smell you just as easy, kind of a thing. Like, look, you're not going to defeat my ancient white dragon with a fucking fog cloud spell, right? Get out of here with that. You got to be smarter than that. What else do they have? Web. Difficult terrain. She's got Ice Walk, but it's not. It wouldn't be an icy service, I guess. Dexterity saving. That'd be funny if she ended up restrained. Her Dex is a +6. So you could get pretty. I mean, stranger things have happened. Certainly get lucky with some saves. She does have legendary resistance, of course, so she can just bust out of anything and probably use that as much as possible, because I don't see this going more than 3 rounds. She's not going to go more than 3 rounds with an Ancient Dragon. Robin is out of 4th level spell slots, by the way, casting Greater Invisibility. A little too willy-nilly, I thought, during the end of that last fight, just throwing that 4th level spell out there, going, okay, okay. And anything else he calms would just be legendary resistance anyway, including, like, suggestion or anything. I had the White Dragon cast Fog Cloud. Oh, man. Oh, there might be a size limit on the web, yeah. Oh, Robin offers to heal our cataracts. Does Luster Restoration do that? It can heal blinded. I don't know if that would be cataracts caused by age. You know, it'd be... If he does that, she's definitely kidnapping him. It wouldn't even be a case of, like, necessarily heal, but it would be like she makes, you know, some of her aches and pains go away a little bit. At that point, yeah, she's definitely taking him and, like, kidnapping him. Like, here's your consequence for this whole dungeon. You're now a dragon's plaything. Which, maybe she grabs him and flies off, and he casts, you know, Misty Step on his turn and escapes from the dragon that way. In which case, you know, he falls 100 feet or 150 feet or something. But at least he's no longer the dragon's clutches. And then he's taking that much falling. Oh, God, I'm really painting a crazy scenario here. But I think he could try to still escape that way. I think Misty Step is very powerful. I believe it would let you, because it's just a fucking teleport. But it's only a 30-foot teleport. Yeah, the actual guy. What I would rule is that, like, you know, some of the pain goes away in her, you know, eyes or something. She does feel a little bit better from Luster Restoration, but it certainly wouldn't, yeah, cure. Yeah, rub the bunions. Yep, exactly. But that would be pretty funny. And I'm picking on Valravn because specifically I see him as the one that's really their only chance of getting out of this. Having after being seen and not ending up just trying to run for their lives or try to fight, which God bless them, they may try to fight, but it's not going to go well. I don't plan on holding back too much, at least in the beginning. I mean, they're half the party, more than half the party is at full health. Like, Valravn's hurting a little bit, Edmund's hurting a little bit. Frey's got that regeneration, that troll regen. I don't think it'll help her much good during this fight, but it did help her a lot to give her an instant full health. So they can all eat a fucking cold breath, and I think they could all survive a single round with this dragon, but then after that, they need to really be like, okay, we're getting out of here, we're jumping over the ship, we're running like hell. Like, this is not a fight you want to stay and fight. This is something you need to escape. But I do love the idea of trying to socialize, but it would be fun for me to try and play around a little bit with the dragon's abilities. Like I said, maybe unleash a freezing breath down below when she first sees them. But then the problem is, if I do that literally when she sees him and Valravn's there, then she would annihilate Valravn. I think he actually has that Ring of Warmth, so that would actually... What is the average damage on the... Because he does have resistance, and he would be able to save 72 damage, so he's already taking, on average, 36. So actually, assuming I don't roll super well, even if he doesn't make the save, the fact that he's got that resistance to cold damage would possibly have him survive. Wing attack is very cool, too, for legendary action. Each creature within 15 feet of the dragon must succeed on a DC 22 dex save or take 15 bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. And the dragon can then fly up to half its flying speed, which is 40 feet. I do not plan on running her optimally. She's just, white dragon. She's very ancient, of course, but so she's smart enough to use her abilities to the fullest extent. But I think she's also a little addled in the mind, and she's got the physical impairment. But she would be extremely protective over her treasure hoard, and that would cause her to go aggro pretty much instantly. But if anybody's going to talk her down out of it, I think Valravn could. It would just cause. I just don't see it where they're going to be able to walk away without something. They're going to have to give up some kind of treasure, or the reindeer in their wagon. Tell her where that is, or Valravn himself will have to be essentially kidnapped and carried off to her lair, only to be seen much, much later in this adventure. The fourth, and so the third layer, they can also grab stuff, which is, they wouldn't have to necessarily, they don't have to sleight of hand and search for that stuff, because that's going to be the stuff that's right there with where Valravn is, which is like 200 gold pieces, a 1 foot tall marble statuette of a griffin with gold inlay, a black pearl, and a peridot carved in the shape of a leaf. Those are all worth several hundred gold pieces, as well as this cloak. That's all in the third layer, and that's all stuff they can grab basically right now when the session starts. So the concept will be how much of the other random loot do you want to grab on the ground versus are you going to try to dig out that stuff that's on the fourth layer, which is going to be a suit of mithril armor, which I'm going to have be, I think, scale. So both, which I didn't realize artificers could wear medium armor, and obviously rangers can wear medium armor. So I figure, okay, well, the book actually has mithril armor of medium armor in one of the layers. So I figure we can just keep that. But I'll change, let's see, where is it? Mithril armor chainmail. Chainmail is heavy, I believe, so I'm going to change that to, I think, what did I say, scale mail? So that it's medium armor. That way, and then Thimbleweed and Edmund can fight over it. Just armor +1 is the easiest thing. Or I guess I could do mithril armor. Or its own thing. Might be in here already. Yep, there's mithril armor. So we can just have that be medium. I was even gonna give him a +1 and say, fuck it, you guys level 8, like +1 armor, pretty damn good. Between that and the like +1 to AC is just awesome. So I could give him a +1. And I think scale mail. Let's see, medium. Post captivity Valravn. Yeah, that would be like that'd be like the end credit stinger of the campaign. Is Valravn like escaping? These. Okay, there we go. No, it's okay. I got start scale mail then. Half plate is medium armor. So what I want to look at is what are they wearing right now versus what would be an upgrade to what they're wearing. So Thimbleweed. What armor are you currently wearing, Thimbleweed? He's already got 17 AC, which is pretty good. I don't think anybody's ever bought new armor either. Thimbleweed, are you wearing leather armor? Well, it might be. His dex is 5, so he probably gets pretty good out of leather armor. Which is... What is that? AC 11 plus your dex? Yeah. That equals 16. He must have a +1 from something else. Oh, I know what it is. His actual personal secret I gave him. I turned him into a bug person, essentially. Not really, but like he's got bug parts. I believe that gave him a straight up +1 to AC. So yeah, so that's interesting. Why not look up the stats on armor? Roll 20. Do I have to use the other website to use this? Because the table. All right, fuck it. I'll get mine done. Gosh. I just don't know where to look for it. I want the chart that tells you, hey, how much AC this armor gives you. I think that's... No, that's the player's handbook, isn't it? Shoot. Obviously, that's got all the stuff you can shop for. There we go. Page 145 in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So yeah, leather armor is just 11 plus dex modifier. So actually, you would not want to wear medium armor unless it was half plate. That'd be 15 plus 2. Your max dex modifier would be a 17. And then if it was a plus 1, that would be 18. Why does he not buy studded leather armor? He's got enough gold for it. I would let you buy studded leather armor, man. Just an instant plus 1 AC. Doesn't that improve your life? Alright, so what does Edmund have? So he also has medium armor proficiency, and he has studded leather armor, which is AC 12 plus your dex modifier, but his dex... obviously not nearly as high. It's a 2. So that's a 14. And then he's got whatever their AC bonus is. I think he has 1 from his arm. And I think 1 because he infused his armor, I believe. So he gives us 16 total. So if I gave them medium... So medium armor actually is really just going to be for Edmund then, because Thimbleweed can make way better use out of light armor. But if I give Edmund Mithril armor, ignore the dex. I don't think so. I think Mithril armor just ignores the disadvantage on stealth checks. Normally imposes disadvantage on stealth checks, or if it has a strength requirement. Which nothing but heavy armor requires strength anyway. So anyway, if Edmund was given, for example, a chain shirt or scale, I was gonna do scale mail. We can do scale mail. In fact, chain shirt doesn't matter because it doesn't have disadvantage on stealth. So if we do mithril scale mail plus 1, that would be a... assuming he's got at least a 2 dex modifier, which he does, that would be a 16. That'd be a 17 AC, and that doesn't even include his bonuses. That would be a huge AC upgrade for him. Maybe I shouldn't do the plus 1. Just giving everybody medium armor that they haven't bought yet for some. Why have they not bought better armor? Seems silly. I mean, I could just do the mithril thing, and so maybe I'll ignore the plus 1 component and say, hey, here's a... But make sure it's medium, so that they would both use it, but they would look at the stats, and presumably Thimbleweed would know that Edmund would take better advantage of that. But right now, he's got studded leather, which is 12 plus 2 is 14. So if I give him scale mail, that's 14 plus 2 is 16. And then with his 2 modifiers, assuming he infuses his new armor, that would give him an AC of 18 for our Artificer friend. That's a pretty nice upgrade. So I'm actually going to not do the plus 1, but we will keep it mithril scale mail. But, and that's probably good too, because guess what? The other magic item is a fucking bow, which is something that Thimbleweed's obviously going to use. The bow, which unfortunately I don't think I have a graphic for this yet. I need to search out some frosty looking bows. I thought obviously having a frost themed bow would be cool. I'm going to call the bow Hailstorm. By the way, Silver Plus patrons get nice, fancy, like I've got the layout like it looks like it's from the book, and I do these, you know, any of these custom items and creatures I'm using, I upload to the Patreon as well. This secrets, any kind of character creation tools that we use. All that stuff in there is uploaded at a bi-monthly basis. But you can see it here in Roll20 also. Hailstorm. Oh, shift. There we go. This is a bow. There's a tomb. I guess it's a. Oh shit! What does he use? Longbow or shortbow? It's whatever. Whichever one he uses, that's what it is. He uses a shortbow because he's short. All right, requires attunement. This elven bow's magic has been worked by repeated exposure to a white dragon. It's always cold to the touch. So here's my concept for a magic bow for Thimbleweed. Regular arrows, which means you can't use Chardalyn arrows and get this effect. Yes, choose. Fired from this bow, deal an additional 1d4 cold damage. When you hit a target with a critical hit using this bow, a temporary localized ice storm pelts the area. Every creature within a 20-foot radius of the target must make a DC 13 dex save, taking 2d8 bludgeoning damage and 46 cold damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. That is literally the ice storm spell. And I like this. First of all, I like items that trigger only on crits. I think you can use those. You can give those out a little bit more often because they won't come up as much. But when they do, it's a really extra cool thing that happens. And B, notice how there's no friend or foe system here. It's like just suddenly that person you were shooting, now everybody within a 20-foot radius has to deal with an ice storm suddenly being cast, which could be favorable for you if there's a lot of enemies around, or could be bad if there's a lot of your allies around. So I thought that'd be kind of a fun little thing to put on there and make getting critical hits a little bit more interesting. I could slap like a +1 on there or something. I don't know. Need to. He's got such a good chance to hit. I think just having the extra cold damage is going to be attractive enough, and the extra crit effect should be really fun. And he's got plenty of Chardalyn arrows now to make that pretty cool. So that's my idea for a magic bow for Thimbleweed. So initially they will have to choose whether they want to dig out the bow first or the armor first, and then that'll take another round between those things. And maybe they want to grab, just do the bow and then get into position to try to escape and work on it from that way. I would absolutely let them try to stealth their way up the stairs because the dragon would go down the hold, especially if they do some shenanigans about, I don't even know if they have this capability, but like there's the spell like you throw your voice and all this stuff. Maybe they could do a way to sneak out, but again, she's got to pass the perception of 23. That's what they gotta beat. If they all go, I could do a group check rather than make everybody have to make a roll, which is probably the fair way to go, but you'd still have to have over half the party make over 23 to escape. So thank you. I like I said, I love making magic items. That's something I really love to do. And I also love tailor making items. Some items I just kind of hand out and say, well, whoever wants to use this can use it. And then others I very much design, okay, what's going to be cool for this particular player character concept is going to love using this item. And then I'll make sure they get their hands on that item. And Thimbleweed, it's been a long time coming. He's level 8 now and still doesn't have a magic bow, and I feel for him, even though he does occasionally have magic arrows. So hopefully this will make up for it, because I think it's a pretty cool bow. And at least, it could be very tricky for him to, shoot like the snow. If there's another snow golem encounter, and he gets a crit on one of those, that would actually heal them. Interestingly, they would take some of the bludgeoning damage, but then they would heal from the cold damage. So it's going to be really fun and interesting, I think. Most likely he will not want to even use this bow because it does the extra cold damage every attack, though. But not everything's going to be cold, and certainly not everything's going to be resistant or immune to cold, so I think he can certainly use this bow in that way. So the bow, in case of this bow on a crit, 2d6 piercing plus 2d6 cold plus the ice storm. Yes, essentially it'll do massive damage because, 2d4 cold damage, I guess. Should be pretty nice. I don't think this stuff gets repeated on a crit, though. As we determined, we had that one session where I think I rolled too many dice. Or roll 20, I guess. Rolled too many dice. Bo grants the Landstrider. Extra Landstrider. I don't think he does have Sharpshooter. No. He didn't take... I don't think he took a feat. I think Valravn was the only one that took a feat at level 8, and it was a great feat. Every short rest, he can hand out a huge bunch of temporary hit points to his party. Shout out to Valravn, by the way, for playing a pure support class in D&D. You do not see that very often. People like to be, you know, the cool heroes. I mean, and I think a supporter is very cool in general, but he is like literally doing things that just to buff and make other people better, which hats off to that character concept, but he stuck to that. I think everybody else took the ASI instead of the feat. I do think Sharpshooter is a little broken. I wish it was not a flat, what is it, -5 plus 10 or something stupid. I wish it was like you could take this flat minus, but then you get to roll your bonus damage, and not that it's just a flat huge increase. So, and I'm saying this as somebody who took Sharpshooter in our last campaign and even thought it was like crazy broken. So that's my plans for the end of the Dark Duchess. It could be anything from, hey, we're just going to cut and run and get out of here and move on, to we're going to spend the whole session dealing with the dragon and then only escape at the very end. I have no idea. But maybe we'll go over a few things more on Thursday, but mostly I might just go ahead and start talking about the next destination of Yarlmoot, and the players will get a chance to short rest before there, but probably not long rest. And I'm going to really try to, you know, stretch that adventuring day out, because I think that's the best way you challenge your party, is by making sure they get a lot of encounters and challenges and events between long rests. That's how the D&D system works. So I think that will do it for today's Crafting Icewind Dale. If you enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to Platinum patrons: Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Thomas, Adam, Stan, William, I'm Loud, Kyle, Brandon, Genocider, David, Nebula99, Eclectic, Roleplay, Roll, James, and Lindsay. And gold patrons: RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Marcus, Dead Lizard, Lion, Sam, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Nathan, Fast Like a Tortoise, and James. Thank you all very much for your support. I will see you on Thursday.